Fence Post.
Good afternoon, Green Valley, and welcome to another edition of the Fence Post podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Matt Nevels, and very special guest today from the city of Green Valley. So we're going to watch what we say, Matt.
I know.
Okay. Very appropriate.
We have Theresa Osenbaugh from the city. Theresa, how's it going?
I'm well. How are you guys today?
We're doing good. Yeah. Thank you for coming on. Well, thank you too, Matt, for coming on. So just kind of for people that don't know, what is your title and what does that title actually do besides play witch to my wizard?
So I am the Deputy City Administrator for Green Valley. I don't know that I can sum it up very easily. A lot of times it's kind of just special projects fall into my lap. So kind of right hand to the City Administrator and just tag teaming projects along the way that come up.
City Administrator Ken Murphy, right?
Correct, yes.
Yes. I don't know if Matt, I know we tried it for about months now to put in that document or whatever to get him on this podcast, and it's just not working.
I think you just don't have the pull you think you do. Like, I think you feel like you want people to come and...
That was a shot right there. Shots fired. We are 27 seconds in and shots are fired, people.
It's Monday. What can I say?
He's so elusive.
Yes, he is. But so, I've got to know you over the few years now that I've been a small business owner and worked with you and Ken and everybody in the city and stuff. And so I know you mentioned special projects and stuff. Well, first, before we get on to the special projects, how does one become a deputy city administrator?
That's a good question. Wrong place, right time? I don't know. So my background is actually in nonprofit. I came to the city in 2017. I live in Green Valley, was making that dreaded commute, an hour each way, and was ready to just work closer from home. So found a job at the city. And being in that nonprofit background, lots of experience in public policy, advocacy, community organization, fundraising, budgeting, all those things that translate pretty well into a city position. So I took a role as a city clerk there, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that for a couple years, and then those special projects just kept falling in my lap, and here we are.
Yeah, so I remember the course catalog in college. I didn't see like city administration on there.
No, definitely not.
No, and when it was in stone for you, you didn't see it chiseled in stone, Matt?
Well, we didn't have course catalogs back then. There was a town crier. They would announce it every
scroll. Yes, and you didn't really have a choice. It was like a sorting hat from Harry Potter, right? They just told you are going to be X.
Sorting hat was new at that.
So now you're the deputy city administrator. Is it deputy administrator or deputy city administrator?
Deputy city administrator.
Okay. All right.
Gotta make it easy.
No. And so kind of one of those special projects, which is near to my heart, and hopefully Matt's because he's down here all the time, is now you're part of this kind of push to revitalize small town USA and their downtown. Just kind of talk a little bit about, your position in that and how that all's come about with the city so far.
Sure. So I think we all see lots of cities around here who have great downtowns. I think we've all been to them. We enjoy going to them. And several of us at the city really wanted that for Green Valley. Like we have the nuts and bolts here, and we were just ready to see it really come to fruition. And so in addition to that, we had community surveys that had gone out over the years that said downtown revitalization should be a priority that the city considers. So we heard that. Lots of conversation, and then also during our branding project that we completed last year, I think, that came up several times. Downtown, over and over and over. And as everything sometimes feels in government, it takes a while to get through the process, but we ended up applying, as you know, for a grant last year through the Missouri Main Street Connection, and we were awarded that actually felt fairly quickly after we went through the process, and I know Jason was a big part of that, and a bunch of other players as well. But what that project and that grant means is that we have a partner with Missouri Main Street Connection, and they are kind of mentoring us for 2 years on how to go through like a 4-point approach that most of the cities around here who have great downtowns have gone through themselves. So that's kind of where we're at, just getting started.
Yeah. So I know I'm part of it too. I'm not El Capitan or El Presidente like Theresa is. No, I'm not. I ran. It was a fair election. Got voted down significantly.
We can take a recount. If
No,
you want.
no. Oh, no. It's a 10-year term, I think.
Yeah.
But, no, I completely agree with you. The heart and soul of any city is its schools and its downtown. And as a Grain Valley resident, I've seen so many things come and go from this downtown. It was always the bank on one end and whatever new restaurant on the other end. And we've gone through so many different restaurants through there. I know when I approached the idea of opening up the brewery downtown, people were like, why would you do downtown? I'm like, well, that's, hopefully one day that's the place everybody wants to go. And there's been other good businesses here, but not enough supporting businesses. And I know that's kind of what your goal is to bring, revitalize it enough that businesses want to come and invest in our city.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, it's, as you know, a multifaceted approach. So it's business, supporting businesses, it's making downtown more pretty just to be around. And so I know we're working on getting some flowers and things, small wins to start. And it's also putting on events and programs and marketing, because I think a lot of people don't even know we're here sometimes, unfortunately. I think the word's getting out. And then we also have just watched a few, yourself and some others included, how private investment can really just spur economic development. And that's what's happening down here. A few people have taken a chance, build a dream, and other people see it working, and then they take their shot too, and it's working for us. Yeah. I was down here Saturday. I was just telling Jason that I was down here Saturday, and almost all the parking lots were full. I had to go to a few before I could find a place to stop.
That is a good problem. Obviously, we have is we want to have is there's just not enough spaces, and then hopefully the city gets together and planning and zoning and all that stuff, and we obviously fix that. That's never really been a problem before, and you have to before anybody's going to invest and fix that problem, it has to be known that it's a problem.
Probably a problem.
Exactly, it can't be a problem for a year. It can't be a problem for 6 months, I now have this problem. It's got to be, before big investment happens, it's got to be a kind of a staple problem. I know, part of the group, we put on the downtown Easter egg hunt.
Mm-hmm. It was a fun event.
It was a fun event. I know we're looking at doing more events throughout the time. Since this is backlogged, we did the downtown. We just had our first Friday downtown.
Yeah.
And
I hope it went really well.
That went really, really well. The rain held off just enough for us to get everything in. And
Lots of people.
And we had our other successful scavenger hunt just to get people to go into businesses down here. And I think that was, that's probably the saddest thing that has happened throughout the years is there's been some really good businesses come and go from downtown, and I was one of the worst of them for the longest time. I would drive by and go, man, I need to go in there. I need to go there one day. I need to go there one day, and then all of a sudden it's closed, and you're like, oh man, and what happened? I never had a chance to go. Well, you know what? You didn't go there.
Right. I say that every time I drive by Iron Kettle. Someday I'm gonna go there.
And I get that a lot. I get that a lot from even some friends or friendly people of mine, acquaintances and stuff like that. Man, I just haven't been to your place yet. How long have you been open? I'm like, 2 years. Oh man, I need to really get out there. I'm like, well, you can until you don't have to anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think that's the mindset too that the downtown group or the Grain Valley Partnership, all of those are trying to create is that think local first. Yeah. Everything you do, think local, and reminding people to do that, but then working to create the opportunities that they can and will.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I just went to Walmart, and my $5 breakfast pizza that I usually get for my kids is now $8.75 within 2 weeks. I could easily just go and get something not much more expensive from somewhere local, and I think that's really what we should be doing, is help everybody out.
Not much more and way better.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so, we're talking about kind of what we're doing now. As far as just city goes, I know we have the new police department being built, right?
Yeah.
So can you kind of talk about that? You know, why do you think that was a need for our city? What do you think this is going to help do? Because obviously, when something leaves, that opens up other stuff. And if you can't, you know, share any proprietary information, I understand.
I wish I had some. No, I guess, first of all, this is just another opportunity to thank voters for having faith in us on this police department. For those who don't know, City Hall shares a building with the police department. The building itself is not adequately sized for the amount of staff we have. We have people actually working out of hallways and closets and things like that right now. And the police department, they do the best they can with the space they're given, but it's not set up for a police department. And so the new building, we hope it will be finished, knock on wood, spring, beginning of summertime next year, so about a year of a project there. And it's going to have a lot of great new things. So it will actually have a property room that is ventilated appropriately, has the correct storage for, you know, drugs and guns and all those kinds of things, and they'll be stored in the best way possible, up to date and modern. Separate holding facilities, because there are regulations out there for juveniles. You can't contain them the same way you would an adult and things like that. So we have those built in, so we're meeting all those state statutes. And just a great, nice area for the officers to come into and do their work when they're doing such important service to our community. There's a community room in the plans too, so that will be used primarily for training for our officers, but also the community can come in and use that space. I'm sure I'm forgetting 100 other things, but it's definitely going to be a state-of-the-art facility like there.
And it's in a beautiful location. Yeah, they do deserve it. Will the prisoners get the overlook of the park, or will that be for the community and the officers?
So typically, no, obviously it'll be nice and locked down in there, but typically we don't hold people for very long either. We use other detention services for longer stays.
Well, if you want to
They wouldn't have time to enjoy it.
I could probably, make a bogus call. And, you can see it firsthand.
We could do a podcast from there. Right?
There you go. Yeah, I like that one better than me going to jail.
I guess we don't have to.
All right, exactly.
But yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah, and so obviously, like our schools, our city halls bust into seams. So police are going to move out. Do we have an idea what's going to go in those spaces? Are we expanding people over to that area? Have we talked about that part yet?
So that decision will ultimately be up to the board. Obviously, we've had lots of conversations along the way, and there are different opinions out there floating on what should be done. So we haven't set any final decisions on that. There will be a chance when the police department moves out, we will find a use for that space, but we'll just have to see what the future holds. With our space, just the way it's set up, it's kind of divided down the middle with the council chambers, and both sides are identical, and so they're not necessarily outfitted for the departments appropriately necessarily. So lots of conversations to be had still.
Yeah.
So now, was the city involved? I know the district is getting a new central office. Was the city involved in that, or was that just kind of a district operation?
Yeah, so that poor community development department again, they worked definitely with the school district on the permitting and all the plans and things like that for that. So that was our main involvement.
Nice, yeah. And so it is nice seeing the city grow, because I know for the longest time, our police department and somewhat a city hall was just in a small building over here by us downtown area. And I know for the longest time, and this will be a hot take topic for some people, is we've tried to vote for a new city hall kind of down south, and that hasn't passed. It hasn't passed yet for whatever reasons. I'm not asking for ins or outs. Just what was the city's thought process to doing that? Was it just the city hall's too small? What was that?
The thought process on the first project is what you're talking about, or just
on the idea of moving City Hall to that southern location where the old house used to be?
So that actually, believe it or not, we're in the middle of a update to our comprehensive plan right now and our parks master plan. And the last time that was done, the citizens and the feedback kind of directed that to be the decision that property be used for some kind of municipal development. And so that's where that came from. And the planning process for the new plan, the new comprehensive plan, is still on the way. We have drafts coming soon. And so we've been gathering feedback, and we'll see what it looks like for that moving forward.
Yeah. I know that's been kind kind of a hot topic back and forth. But if you've been inside City Hall, you guys are packed in there. I mean, just like our schools have been growing immensely, our city's growing immensely, which means, everybody wants to complain about, well, every time I call, I can't get somebody, or I do this, or I do that. Well, you know what? That's because we need more staff. Just like a lot of places, they need more staff. The problem is, just like at the high school, we could hire 10 more teachers, but what's the problem? Where are you going to put them?
Nowhere to put them.
Yeah. Nowhere to put them. So,
well, also, because I do listen to the podcast sometimes, I remember you saying you wanted to be a cop at one point, and we're hiring police officers right now, Jason. So you don't have 6 other jobs you're already doing. But we are looking for officers right now. Also,
part-time, full-time.
Full-time.
No.
Can I be Barney Fife?
And public works as well.
Yeah,
so if anybody's looking for a job, we are hiring.
All right, here's a trivia question for you. Okay. This is a secret trivia. This means you had to listen to the entire podcast. All right. First person to comment on Facebook on this podcast and answer this question wins a $25 gift card to Iron Kettle. Don't tell anybody about this, okay? No, you cannot comment. You have to be not present to win. In the Andy Griffith Show, Barney Fife carried what around with him in his shirt pocket? He wasn't allowed to have it anywhere else. What did he carry around with him in his shirt pocket? You know what? Don't answer it. Don't answer it. First person to comment, $25 gift card to Iron Kettle. You had to have obviously listened to the whole podcast.
To be in your brain. I don't know.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, when do you sleep? I said, I don't. I just wait. It's just a few hours of waiting at night. So, obviously you've been deputy city administrator for a few years now. Is there, like, in our case, our growth is just as an educator, and I'm just saying this for a business standpoint, would the next logical step up for you would be to be a city administrator?
I mean, that's probably the pathway, but I'm pretty comfortable.
I understand. No, I'm not asking your ambitions. We try and educate too.
Yeah, no, for sure. That would be the next.
And so then, I know Ken's the city administrator. Is that through that avenue, is there a step past that, or is that pretty much in your guys' profession, is that the top?
Yeah, that would be the top. So it would just be if you chose to go to a bigger city or something like that.
Because as teachers, you got teaching, and then assistant principal, super, all the way up to superintendent is.
Yeah, he's kind of like the superintendent.
He's kind of like the superintendent.
He's the Dr. Welly of the city.
And acts like it. Doesn't return phone calls. Doesn't come on podcasts. Doesn't support.
I think Dr. Welly was here.
Well, no. Oh yeah, I guess that sounds bad. Not Dr. Welly was here. Hold on. I'm trying to dog on Ken here. Ken, Dr. Welly answered phone calls, answered emails, came on the podcast. Be more like Dr. Welly. No, Dr. Welly was great. Dr. Welly was great, and I believe the bond only passed by about 3 votes, and I'm not saying this podcast has anything to do with it, or am I not saying it barely passed by 3 votes? But what I'm saying is, I don't know what I'm saying. I never do.
Thanks for voting.
Yes, that's what I mean. Every vote counts. Your vote matters. So, I appreciate you coming on here, Theresa. I know I work with you a lot in the downtown area. I hope to continue to work with you. I know we're trying to do great things down here, with your leadership as El Presidente of the downtown committee.
Special project.
Yes, another special project. We will do. We'll do great things. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, for Matt and Theresa, I'm Jason. Thank you for another episode of Fence Post.
Bye.
The Fence Post.